if you're on stream right now, which nobody is, sadly, go to stream, bro. That's cool. But if you're not, if this is YouTube, if you're on YouTube, it's gonna be a long ass video. Okay.
It is weird because I hear I'm defending.
The fuck up. It's gonna be an interesting ass video. Let's see. I do all the goofy shit, subscribe and like and whatever. I don't care. Do it though. Don't forget to do it.
Byron, but he sits there for about minutes with his like lackeys, and like we never said it was sexual assault. We just asked the question: is it sexual assault? If not, we're not making any.
By the way, before I forget, hold on. Where is it? Let me go to my own channel. Before I forget, right? Because this is really fucking fascinating to me. Like, I've had a lot of interactions. Which one was it? This one was. I had a lot of interactions with a lot of people on the internet. But, this is by far the most retarded shit I've seen in my whole entire life. I just want to say. This is very retarded. He says the guy reacting is making the video unbearable. Fresh doesn't look like he's capable. Like, Fresh and Fit fans are so fucking retarded. They would like argue and they would be like, no, Fresh actually looks like he's capable of assaulting somebody. You know, like Fresh is an alpha male. He is actually capable. Obviously, I made a joke saying like, you know, he looks like he might daydream about assaulting somebody, but I don't think he's like capable of doing assault or committing assault because of how much of a goofball and pussy-looking person he is. That's what I say. And a lot of people took offense to that, obviously. And what I say to that is, you know, suck dick for the most part. I mean, you are sucking dick, Fresh and Fit's dick. You're sucking some fresh, fit dick. But yeah, like, you guys are so stupid that you literally make an argument saying that somebody could, like, somebody has indeed the ability or capability to assault somebody just to make an argument. That's how stupid you are, so, you know.
Allegations.
I think he may have assaulted you. I mean, at this point,
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that, but like, again, like
Ethan said, like, this is sexual assault, right? And then the girl was like, well, no, I wouldn't go as far to say that. But I think Ethan even tried to like put the words in her mouth. And even the girl was like, no, I wouldn't say it was that. I feel like
Matt's citation off cases about the Olympics is pertinent, but an argument for better planning and more transparent discussions. Your argument is really bad on this and you're out of your depth. You're correct that trans women should be able to compete in women's sports, but your argument for it is just scientifically and factually incorrect. I'm actually not bad about this. I'm 100% right on this. I don't give a shit about the scientific explanations. People, if they identify as a woman, get to compete in sports. If that's not fair in the short term for a variety of little competitions, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Because the societal interests of including trans people in society trumps stupid competition. Full stop. So I'm right about this. You're wrong about this. Matt said.
Oh Lord, I wonder if she's like, if she actually thinks this works.
Citation.
What's going on here?
I mean, look at the map. Can you see where Egypt is? What continent is that again? Like, Jesus Christ. My God.
What?
Abba and preach about Ethan Klein saying they're conservatives. Oh yeah. I feel like we need to. I feel like we need to catch up on this whole thing.
And a lot of the dumb conversations that are happening. I thought there was one thing that was really interesting to me.
What?
During that live stream that they did, one thing that they said that
Who's they?
Ethan Klein and his wife.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Whatever.
They said something. They said, "Oh,
disrespecting Hassan, calling him like Ethan Klein's wife. That's crazy, bro."
look at these centrists," and they went air quotes.
They're centrists, you know?
yeah, and we know what that means.
Kind of.
I do like how like utterly bubbled into their own world Hassan and Ethan are. Hassan should know better. Ethan, I think, is just kind of dumb. So
I'll bet money that Ethan is probably a little slow, like mentally, which is not a bad thing. I think he might be autistic. not even autistic, just like little mental. I swear to God, I'm not even like joking. I think he might have like little mental things going. You know, I think that might be what it is, because he's so he's just not self-aware enough for me to be like, yeah, he's mentally there as a human being. Like, his lack of self-awareness is too much for it to be of a normal person.
I can never tell. I truly can never tell with Ethan. Ethan feels like a guy who has like 83 IQ, but he wants to have like really strong political takes. But he just probably shouldn't be navigating that world. That's just the feeling I get. And then Asana's just like a fucking loser.
Like I said, I don't know enough about them.
Right? Which is essentially like their way of being like, we know what that means. So that's what they said, right? Which is their way of saying like, we're like alt-right, right-wingers.
It's not salt. No, I think it means that the word centrists are viewed like people that are not solid and not flip-flop.
That's not how they meant it.
No?
When they say centrist like this,
centrist, like it's a whole meme, right? Like saying base in this community. Trust me, I'm very in touch with the DGG world. Okay. Like, if you say something they like, they'll be like base.
That's what you're saying.
They're trying to say they're not actually centrist. They're saying we're right.
We're right. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
I just noticed this. The irony of all this whole thing is that politically speaking, if we're being like just straight, we have way more in common with these two people than we would with anyone on the right. Right? If you were to ask us on all our policies, we'd be like, yo, we're for socialized healthcare. Yeah. I'll speak for me. Socialized healthcare. Yeah. I'm for taxation for social programs. Yeah. I'm for unions. I'm for strong labor laws. I'm for immigration that allows people to come in reasonably. So on a lot of the major core, I'm for public funding for education. That's very strong. I believe in a lot of socialization for society to be cohesive. You may disagree. That's okay. We don't come to this channel to all agree on one thing. But this is something I've noticed since my early 20s. You can be left-leaning in all the most important categories. And these people be like, oh my God, culture war. It's all the people ever talk about. Why is this obsession with culture war? But then if you say one thing like, yo, I don't think trans women should be in women's sports. Yo, look at this right-wing conservative bigot. Hold on, what?
The minute you go on one thing, it doesn't have to be on that topic specifically, but if you go on one thing, no matter what the thing is.
Yeah. When they say stuff like that, you like
this video before? I think I've watched this video, right?
Like, do you realize that most of the people who are black who voted Democrat align with exactly what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Are they also all right-wing operatives? Oh, well, you know.
Oh, also, me, I was going to ban like 400 people from my subreddit, but I was traveling, so I was too lazy to do it. When I say that people get, okay, when you speak about like political groups or parties or pundits or whatever in a country, you're usually talking about like with respect to that country's politics. Half my fan base is like raging out that I describe like the Daily Wire as kind of like a center right publication in the grand totality of like U.S. politics. That's the impression that I have of the Daily Wire, and then everybody goes online and is like, well, actually, compared to socialism and communism, they're actually far right. They're the farthest right ever. Like, in the grand scheme of, like, here's something that, and I'm not a huge consumer of either one.
Socialism is definitely left, but is communism left? I find it so hard, to accept communism as left-wing ideology, Socialism definitely is left-wing. I'm just saying, is communism left-wing? Because communism isn't socialism, right? Well, it is enforcing socialism through, like, I guess communism is left-wing when you think about it. It's like a radical and much more radical version of socialism. So technically it is probably considered left-wing, even though the people who are mostly communist in communist countries and who have these types of ideologies more lean into like conservative talking points or conservative ideologies. But technically, communism could be, I guess, considered like radical left. But yeah.
But I felt like, in my feeling, I think Tucker Carlson was more right-wing than I think anybody on the Daily Wire was. I don't know if I've ever heard Matt Walsh talk about like great replacement in immigration as much as Tucker Carlson, but he might have said it and I missed it. But like Tucker Carlson felt almost to the right of anybody in the Daily Wire. I think that Steven Crowder, with like his relentless populism and Trump worship and everything, I think it's like pretty solidly to the right of Daily Wire. I feel like the Daily Wire represents kind of like, my feeling is that if you're a mainstream conservative, you're probably going to be okay with the Daily Wire. But every single person, Knowles on trans eradication. I'm sorry, but progressives have lost the culture war on trans shit. And as soon as you say trans anything, I just completely ignore you because you guys are actually retarded. I'm sorry, but you guys have no fucking idea where to fight your battles, what positions you want to stake out, what the you even believe. Like, you're actually so retarded. I cannot side publicly with any activists when it comes to trans shit anymore. You guys have lost your mind on everything. Like, actually everything. I don't even know what the like. If you do, for instance, like if you're into self-ID, which I feel is like over 50% of the trans people online, you don't deserve to have an opinion on trans issues at all.
Diagnosis is essential to the process of actual medical diagnosis.
So this is actually so wrong. Not only is self-diagnosis absolutely not essential and absolutely not required, it can be detrimental to the actual diagnostic process. If you unironically defend the concept, and I don't even know how many people this is.
To be trans, what the fuck? Okay, you know what?
Of 3 or 4-year-old trans people, you've lost the plot. You guys, if you're on the trans athlete shit and you are hardcore, trans women should be able to compete alongside normal women or cis women and all that, blah, 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 you've lost the plot. I'm sorry, but online trans activist people have totally lost the plot. So when you guys say, oh no, they're actually as far right as the Nazis because of trans issue, I immediately ignore everything you have to say because I know you have nothing of value to say to me. If Walsh and other Daily Wire people talked about more econ, then it would be more clear that they may be neocons, so right. But I think it's because all they talk about are social issues, and that's all the clips of them. Yeah, but the problem is, I don't think people know where the average American stands on social issues. You guys think that over 50% of Americans are probably okay with 15-year-olds on puberty blockers, and that's just not the case.
Isn't the whole trans issue about transgender people being, subject to some level of attack from the Republicans? Because they're using them as an agenda, right? Because Republicans don't really have much agendas to push, unless it's being reactionary. Literally, the fucking guy, the Ron DeSantis guy, Trump was a reactionary, but he was just somebody, he wasn't a policy maker reactionary. All the policies that Ron DeSantis passes are all reactionary policies. It's so wild to me. It's so wild. Almost 50, I'd say 60% of the policies that Ron DeSantis passes at a state level, they're mostly reactionary, fuck liberals type of policies, and it's very weird. It's very weird that that's what the Republican Party is. Democrats naturally are conservative, or they're going that path, right? At least since the Clintons, from what I understand. I think they've made Republicans much more reactionary. They made Republican parties. Democrats are Republicans. Really, let's be honest. Democrats are fucking Republicans, bro. And it's just made Republicans lose their jobs. They can't do shit no more. Democrats took it. You know what I'm saying? Democrats themselves are so fucking conservative when it comes to ideology and policy passing since a certain time. That Republicans have no use. So all they have to do is just all they could do is just be far, far more radical and just be more and more reactionary and have those types of ideologies. That's it. That's all they could do. That's why you're just gonna see reactionary thoughts from Republicans, and that's it, bro.
Whole countries have moved away from that standard of care for trans youth, and you guys think that it's insane that conservatives would say that. You've lost the plot on trans issues. You completely lost the plot on it. It's insane. Continuation on earlier comment. Don't want to swing hard either way. Just in their words, Candace Owens, Knowles, since they're Daily Wire people, and these words seem farther than center right.
Yeah, I agree. I actually don't have any problems at all with the word nationalism. I think that it gets, the definition gets poisoned by elitists that actually want globalism. Globalism is what I don't want. So when you think about, whenever we say nationalism, the first thing people think about, at least in America, is Hitler. he was a National Socialist. But if Hitler just wanted to make Germany great and have things run well, okay, fine. The problem is that
Jesus Christ, bruh. This is what the fuck you told Kanye, and look what the fuck happened to Kanye, Candace. You need to stop, bro.
he had dreams outside of Germany. He wanted to globalize. He wanted everybody to be German.
This is so stupid. So like all the fucking Slavs, and all the Jews, and all the motherfuckers with no hands and shit that got killed in Germany, that's cool, cause that's nationalism. Like as long as like you don't go beyond the border of the country, it's okay. It's nationalism, okay? But when it's globalism, what is she talking about?
Everybody to be speaking German, everybody to look a different way. That's not, to me, that's not nationalism. In thinking about how it could go bad down the line, I don't really have an issue with nationalism. I really don't. I think that it's okay. It's important to retain.
You just say that. Why did you mention Hitler? Like, why do people mention Hitler out of nowhere? And like, your point gets decimated. Okay, the moment you mention Hitler, you don't have a point anymore. You destroyed it. That's it. Like, why did you have to mention Hitler? You know?
Your country's identity, and to make sure that what's happening here, which I think is incredibly worrisome in terms of the decrease in the birth rate that we're seeing in the UK, is what you kind of want to avoid. So I don't have.
What is your interpretation of what she's saying here? Do you think she's saying that I was okay?
Do you think like nationalism? Do you think nationalism is like going to save the birth rate of like Western countries? Like, I mean, obviously the birth rate of countries, including China and many other countries, specifically countries that are like modernized and that have more cities, the birth rates are going down, right? This is like a fact that we all know. Sure. Do you think like nationalism or being proud of your country is going to bring it up? Maybe, sure, because you just like maybe have more kids. Sure, I guess, but even then, like if you're modernized, because that's the thing, right? Like you have technology, and most of these people are like more modernized, so they don't really want kids because having kids is expensive. So even then, like I don't think nationalism would like convince somebody to have a kid. Like the more modernized you become, like the less and less you hold these types of values, you know? Like, rationally, it doesn't, I don't know, I don't even know what she's trying to say, honestly.
Okay with the death camps in the concentration, which by the way, I think most of them were outside of Germany, so technically that even would, in the most technical sense, it technically would fit her argument. But like,
very technically so, like, she is saying that. Like, she is, if you're being very technical with it, that's literally word for word what she's saying. She's saying that she's okay, whatever Hitler does in Germany, she's okay with it. But once it, like, passes that boundary, she's like, nah. That's crazy, that's a very crazy thing to have. I mean, language matters. It doesn't matter what her intentions were. She said these things, and these things that she said, are very wrong and stupid.
she's not saying here that she's okay with the death camps. She's saying that it's okay to be nationalistic, but Germany's problems with that, they were also trying to conquer countries around them too. But like every standard conservative is going to defend the idea.
Nationalism? Like, what was Germany's nationalism? Like, Germany's nationalism was based on genocide. Right, so when you say Germany's nationalism, specifically like Hitler as a nationalist is okay, like, yeah, you're making a dumb point. Like when you're saying Hitler's okay, that's what she's saying. She's not saying anything else.
You have nationalism to you.
If Hitler was like a globalist, like he would have been okay, which that's what she's saying, and
like no shit. So you disagree with the ADL? Yeah, probably. The ADL sees anti-Semitism everywhere. Okay, I'm probably gonna disagree with the ADL on a lot of shit. I also disagree with the SPLC on a lot of shit. Like, sure, I don't care. I don't care what the ADL says on that. It doesn't change the clip. Like, or I'm curious, do you think here she's saying like W Hitler? Like, I actually support Jewish eradication. I just wish they would only do it in Germany? Like,
that's not what she's saying, but technically that is what she's saying. Well, she's not saying I support it. She's saying it's okay. She's not saying I support it. She's not saying like, oh, W Hitler. Like, she's not doing like kickstream shit. You know what I'm saying? She's just saying it's okay. Like, it's okay. Whatever the fuck you want to do in your country, even if it's like mass genocide of different types of people, it's okay, is what she's saying. You know what I'm saying? technically that's what she's saying, and maybe that's not like the point that she's trying to go to. Maybe her intentions of like proving a point are different, okay? But that is what she's saying. To a person that could understand English, that's what she's saying. Again, her intentions don't matter. You say these dumb things, and they're dumb, okay? Like, we can't consider your intentions every time you say dumb shit, especially for like Candace Owens, who always says dumb shit.
Forethought does think that. Seems like a lot of people just see extremes as just super right wing or super left wing for some reason. I think for most progressives, like here, like this is how it works, okay? You've got Bernie Sanders, AOC, and then this is Nazism.
What?
That's it. This is it. You've got Bernie, AOC, and then this is Nazis. That's it. Like, I'm so curious, if I were to ask like a progressive, who do you think a centrist is? Like, who is an actual centrist that's not a fascist in hiding, that's not a Nazi in hiding? I'm so curious, like, what a progressive would say. They're not going to give you an answer, right? And then,
I mean, aren't Bernie Sanders and like AOC socialists? Like the first thing that Hitler did. Like when I think of Nazi, I think of what Hitler did. Okay, I don't know about Nazi as an ideology. To be very honest with you, when I think of Nazis, all I think of is like Hitler and the ideologies that Hitler had, right? And that like fucking book that he wrote, the My Struggle thing. But what I do know is that Hitler, like the minute he had some amount of power, he like destroyed any socialist value that the Germans had, whether it was like workers workers union, whether it was the fucking parties. Like he that's the first thing that he did historically. So like how are there Nazis in that same playing field as like socialist Bernie Sanders and AOC? I don't know. I mean, like, you have to explain these things. Like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
and then even a hard question, who's a center-right person to a progressive? Like, they're not going to have, like, yeah, I don't know. They'd say you're a centrist? No, people don't even call me a centrist. They say, they call me,
Far right.
people call me far right these days.
Yeah, I mean, listen. You just defended Candace Owens saying, like, Candace Owens just literally say, shout out to my boy Hitler. She didn't literally say it, but you know what I'm saying? She said, like, what Hitler did nationally is okay, as long as, like, it doesn't pass borders. And you were like, yeah. I mean, you didn't say I agree with her, but you were like, yeah, I mean, what she's saying is not too crazy, is what you're saying. So, I mean, listen, it's not too crazy. People call you far right normally.
Oh, yeah, or they would call Biden a centrist, actually. That's actually true. They might call Biden a centrist, when Biden, I'm pretty sure, has led the most progressive administration in U.S. history. Like, yeah.
I don't even understand, like, listen, a few years ago, okay, at least in the West, from what I understand, from what I read, and I might be wrong, the way that you would understand a person's ideology, unless they're like a media personality, if they're a politician, the way that you would understand their ideology was based on the policies that they support and the policies that they are trying to either pass or the policies that they're trying to market. That's how you know what a person's political ideology is. And from that aspect, I think Joe Biden, at this point in time, I think he could be a centrist. Like, from his policies. Again, not from what he says. Like, according to what Democrats say in the media, like, Democrats are, like, perceived as these unbelievable progressives, right? Like, so progressive that it's actually crazy, you know? That's what Democrats are. But that's not true, though. Policy-wise, if you look at the policies that they pass and the things that Democrats have done, and we could, like, look at some of the policies that have been passed since, like, the Clintons, to, like, Obama, to fucking Biden. And most of these policies are more centrist. Some are even fucking conservative, okay? Some are, like, Republican ideas. Like, You know, so yeah, like I don't know, like I do think Joe Biden is a centrist.
No one is seriously calling you far right, Destiny. Okay. Oh yeah, we were watching this. Sorry.
You know what? Me personally,
I don't think
I
he's
think there's
far
some
right. I'm joking about the.
ways in which feminism has worked against women's interests. You right wing pop. Bro, did I ever say that I wasn't pro-choice? Did I ever say like on the important stuff? But we can't just disagree. And I noticed that. I mean, this could be true for everyone, but I noticed as someone who leads left, people look at you. It's not that you're an imperfect ally. You're just an enemy. The moment you disagree, you're not like an ally who I disagree with. You're not like this person on the same team who we just have a different vision to some degree. You're an enemy immediately.
Yeah, you're gonna be in that whole ass box. There's no nuance. It's funny how like I counted. All right, the other day I was looking at my cell phone, and there are more than 10 applications on my phones that are meant for communication.
Okay.
Over 10.
I got
That's
two phone baby king.
without the text messaging and the phone calls, which that's what a phone is meant for.
Yeah.
And we have all this technology to communicate, but we don't listen. We don't have nuance for nothing. It's like nuance is the enemy of my cause. And the minute you go against what I do or what, death to you all. And you're on the other side. And we can't just be like, oh, excuse me, I have a question.
Yeah.
You can't even question. And that's crazy because as I was growing up, me being able to learn shit or be able to grow was me being able to question stuff. I remember when I was in school, they used to tell me, oh, there's no stupid questions. And then at some point, the more you grow, the more they assume that you're supposed to be like everybody else, right? Everybody wants to, those same people are saying, they're saying, don't be afraid to be yourself. But then if you're someone else, or you just have
Why do you keep saying this? Bernie isn't a super left lunatic. Why do you keep discussing him in bad faith? He wants government to. When did I say Bernie is a super left lunatic? I just said Bernie is very far left in the United States. Did I call Bernie a lunatic? Did I say that? He wants government to subsidize social health care and to tax the rich. Wow, it's so horrible. No, that's not all he wanted. Bernie wanted a wealth tax, and I'm pretty sure Bernie also wanted to expropriate 20% of all private companies in the United States to give them to the workers. So I don't know if you're not even familiar with Bernie's own policies. You said he's to the left of AOC? Yeah, because I'm pretty sure he is. Oh, yeah, and the federal jobs guarantee too, yeah.
question, not like them, they fucking dish you out. Yeah. They're the same people that do that, and that's just a bit crazy to me. You cannot question, you cannot have nuance. I'm not saying that you're gonna be canceled. I'm not going to that side. It's just that they are gonna put you on the side of the enemy right away, and that's not really what happens. You might have some questions, and the funny thing is, what I remember, I'm not saying that's exactly what you do, but is that in that direction?
When you are just aggressive and combative in every situation, you're not going to have allies, period. Because you're not going to have people that listen to you because you don't listen to them. And you're just screaming at them to agree with you forcefully instead of like trying to educate people, you know? And because you don't have a lot of arguments for their questions, you just start like boldly calling them. You just call them like, you call them like phrases and terms like bigots and transphobic because you don't have arguments. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a scapegoat for you to use these specific words. You don't have arguments for these questions and real ideas that people come up with. Like you don't have arguments, and your arguments are like fucking insane. You know. And yeah, I mean that's the problem. That's why we can't even agree to disagree because, yeah.
The people that I thought that do not have a say in whatever they want to say are people that are under a dictatorship, and you dictate where the group goes, and nobody else can question. It leans into the same way. I'm not saying that's what you're inherently doing and you're exactly that and you're a tyrant. And I'm not saying that you're any kind of tyrant like anyone that we had in history.
Remember Bernie Sanders when he was on the campaign trail? He was doing this rally. And then these two black women came on and stole the mic, and he sat there in the corner cucked. And everybody knew that she was wrong, but nobody Really
Nobody
no
said shit.
Why? Because they took over and they co-opted the direction of this thing. Even Bernie.
I'm not convinced that you guys know anything about conservatives, especially after that conversation with IRI. I feel like you guys just don't understand conservatives at all, or maybe I don't, and maybe I'm delusional. Shapiro's social positions are very extreme. Center right would be a more libertarian type, like Counterpoints, or maybe even Rob Noor. I'm pretty sure I asked the panel of conservatives that I was on, and I think every single conservative there fucking hated the Daily Wire because they all felt like the Daily Wire wasn't conservative enough. But who knows? Who knows?
On his own campaign trail, had his mic and his time swollen, and pretty much, I think for me, this really solidified how I viewed him. For
Yeah, and the crazy.
I'm like,
isn't like the most radical you get is like genuinely being like the fucking KKK. It's so hard because you have to identify everything, and you just have to like separate it into two ideologies, which is basically conservative and progressive. Even though there are so many in between ideas that people have that are not necessarily a conservative or progressive. Like there are people that just have specific ideas that think work for society, but because we live in this crazy country where it's like a two-party system and it's a two-ideology thing, it's like it's very hard. Even different political and economic ideologies like socialism are somehow objectively like under the umbrella of either being, Democrat or Republican, which is so crazy. Like the only way you could be a socialist in America is like if you're a progressive and if you're a Democrat. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to be under that umbrella, which is crazy, which makes things harder, I guess.
bro, you ain't got no fucking spine. How you gonna lead a country? You get cucked by two random cities.
You ain't got security.
Yo, that shit was weird.
And the thing that happened is that out of all the people that you could have cut off, you chose Bernie?
Because he's an imperfect ally. Nope, he's an enemy. Again, because he didn't perfectly align with what these sisters thought a political party should do, he was the enemy. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of. And so, to be fair to everyone else, we probably play a large part in that because...
The thing people need to understand is that you could literally force... Like, if there's enough democracy, you could force... That's it. It's like a power grab, a power balance. You have to create a power balance where you have more legitimate power than the people that you're voting for, because you are voting for them. And you have to, in many ways, force and enforce policies that you want in specific ways. Okay? You have to be very vocal about these policies. You can't just vote and then not be there. Like, you have to be there very consistently to get what you want. It's like anything else in life. And people don't understand this, and they just they just want like politicians to be politicians. They just want politicians to like govern in a right way. No, like if you're not there holding these people accountable every step of the way, not only are they going to be corrupt, and not only are they going to take advantage of your vote, like it's going to get much worse. Like you're not going to have a safe period. That's a problem,
We criticize this or we criticize that. And sometimes I think we even criticize things I see on the left a lot more. But that's just because that's what I belong to and that's what I'm around way more often.
H3 acknowledges you. Oh my God, does he?
To his place.
And then I made like a joke.
Acknowledges me, or am I just in the background and he doesn't say anything about it? I don't care. People don't really know where Republicans are. Oh wait, is this Oh, never mind. Somebody linked me a study that I think that Jonathan Haidt guy talks about. Oh, it's this.